driving home. Okay, driving home about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now I want you to keep track now, because this is really like a lifetime movie, because you have to pause and think. So one about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm driving home, and I started to
Miss
feel.
Nader, Miss Nader, give the because I didn't hit the go live button. It just got hit. Okay, since we hadn't been on the air so long, you're giving your testimony and the title of your testimony, and go ahead and I was just giving you a slight intro again because the engineer just hit it. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, Awesome Radio, WECU 1570 AM 107.5 FM, to the social network, social media audience, is the one that didn't hear the full opening of the show. This was just about 30 seconds, but she's about to tell you her testimony again. WNOS 14.5 F, 1450 AM, 102.3 FM, New Bern, and of course, WYLTLP 100.3 FM. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome social media onto the show as well as the radio audience. Thank you for listening in. Back to Miss Nada Manning and Let's Talk Real Life with Miss Nada.
Okay, um, back to the beginning with the scriptures.
Well, yes, yes. Carry on with your scriptures and the reference to your testimony.
Okay, the scripture again. Repeat the scriptures again.
Yes.
Esther 4:14.
Uh
For
huh.
if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Psalms 105, 1 and 2 says, give praise to the Lord, proclaim his name, make known among the nations what he has done. Sing to him, sing praise to him, tell of all his wonderful acts. Now, these two scriptures here is pertaining to the topic which I have selected for this testimony, and it's called two and a half. Two and a half. Folks, if you're listening, I hope that you will stay tuned because, again, I said, maybe you didn't hear me. This is really like a lifetime movie where we have commercial breaks and all kind of pauses because you really have to think about, okay, now wait a minute, back up. So I want to start from the very beginning, which is the week between Christmas and New Year's, that Tuesday. And I was driving home 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my normal self, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, no warning, no nothing, no sniffles, no nothing. I started to feel weak. And weak meaning I could barely turn the steering wheel to make it home. All of a sudden. And I wasn't sneezing or coughing or none of that. So I was very, I said, well, what in the world is going on? I can't seem to get a grip to hold the steering wheel to make it turn. So by the grace of God, I was able to cruise because that's what I did. I put it on cruise and drove very slowly down the main road coming home. So I was managed to get into the driveway, got into the garage and parked. Hallelujah. Because at that point, I was completely, I would say 95% helpless. So I sat in the car for a few minutes. And as I began to get myself together, I said, now I can't sit in this car all night. I got to get out. It was a struggle to get out because why? I was losing muscles. My strength was leaving my body. No warning. I didn't know this now. I learned all of this after. I'll tell you all that later on in the show, maybe part two. But I didn't know what was going on with me. I just eventually got out of the car. I have about 4 steps to step up in my kitchen from the garage. Thank God I have a railing there that I can hold on to open the door to get in the house. I had 2 or 3 bags. I got those bags in the house, set them on the floor, and they stayed on the floor. because I just wanted to go lay down at this point. I didn't know what was going on with me. I was glad I was able to get home safe and didn't hurt anybody, didn't hurt myself. So anyway, put the bags down, put them on the table, put them on the floor, it didn't matter, and closed the door. Went back to my room, had to go to the bathroom. I was able to do that. And then I just laid down. I don't even know if I took my clothes off at that time. I don't know what I did. Anyway, I laid down that now. By now, it was maybe going on 3 because it took me a minute to get out of the car to get in. So it was about 3 now from 2. Now keep up. This was starting around 2 o'clock. So around 3 o'clock, I finally took me an hour almost to get to my bed. Now you know something had to be wrong. So I get to my bed, I lay down, I go to sleep. This is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday. Now, I slept until about 9 p.m. from 3 till about 9. Got up, went to the bathroom. Barely. So I made it to the bathroom at around 9. Was able to get back in my bed very slowly and carefully. Lay back down again. Still have not eaten, didn't want anything to eat, didn't want anything to drink. I just wanted to go to sleep. So from about 9, well, by 2 o'clock a.m., now we talking 12 hours now. By 2 a.m., I had to go to the bathroom again. I got up, made my way to the bathroom, could not get back in the bed. By then, the energy, the muscles were gone. Now I would say 98% was gone. So I'm finished with the bathroom. So now I wanted to get up. I couldn't get up off the toilet. I said, okay, now how are we going to do this? So anyway, eventually, by the grace of God, I was able to get up. I think it took me about 15 or 20 minutes to get up. And so as I proceeded to get back on the bed, again, now this is like 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. now. I get back to the bed in an attempt to get on the bed. Never made it back on the bed about 2:30 a.m. I pulled all the covers, trying to pull my way to get back on the bed. By then, I was really at 99.5%.
So you
muscle.
fell or you slid off the bed?
I did never get on it. I was pulling the covers to get a grip on something
You
so
were on
I
the,
could pull myself on the bed. The more covers I pull, you would think on a fitted sheet, how is that going to come from the mattress if it's fitted?
so you were
But
standing.
I couldn't grab it. I couldn't get the muscles in my hands to hold it. So
Oh,
I never did get a grip. Never did get a grip. By now, I done pulled all the covers off except the fitted sheet.
mm.
By now, I'm sliding and sliding and sliding on the side of the bed. And eventually, I'm sitting on the floor. And I'm saying all this time, Lord, please don't let me get on this floor because I'm not going to be able to get up. I can't get up. I'm still pulling covers, sheets, blanket, bedspread, comforter, pillows, everything. Pulling it, pulling and pulling. Nothing was able to keep me from slide. I didn't fall. I just slid slowly and carefully and just sat on the floor.
Mm.
So there I sat. By now it's like 3 a.m., 3:15. Okay. By the time that rolled around and I was able to at least sit up, I wasn't laying down, I was sitting on the floor. In the
Okay.
wintertime in December, wood floors are cold. So I'm cold with a slip and a t-shirt on. And all the skin and everything was just cold. I was just cold, just wanted to get off. So I put all the covers that I had pulled off the bed. I managed to roll it up under me some kind of way as I tried to move slowly. By now it's like 5 a.m. Okay. From now, keep up with the time. 5 a.m. This is now Wednesday morning because the other one was Tuesday. So we are now on through the night. Wednesday morning around, I don't know, 3, 4 hours later, The Lord was with me because I didn't panic. I just wanted to get off this cold floor, and I couldn't. So anyway, I ended up going to sleep. I just curled right up right there in that spot with all the covers. I couldn't get it all up under me, but I wrapped up on top. So I wrapped up and was able to go to sleep because the pillows and everything was on the floor with me. So I rested my head and just curled up and made myself comfortable. I slept, I guess, I don't know, 3-4 hours. By now it's like 9-10 o'clock in the morning. Wednesday morning, I'm still on the floor. Noontime, 12 noon, I'm still on the floor. Every hour or so, I would make an attempt to move. Thought I'd go back to the bathroom right there to see if I could pull my way up on the toilet. Didn't have any muscle strength to do that. So I got to the toilet, thought maybe I could put a pillow under one knee. If I could get 1 foot level to the ground, to the floor, and push myself up, maybe I could get up and just not pull the toilet, but push myself with the toilet as a base. Couldn't do that. Could not get that foot level to the floor. So there I sat in the bathroom with the covers, leaning over the toilet with the seat down, and I couldn't move. Another hour went by. Now we're close to noontime on Wednesday. In a minute, it'll be 12 hours because it'll be 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday. So then I said, well, that didn't work. So I just made my way on back over to the bed. And then I looked across my hallway to my office. And I said, okay, let me get over there. Now, some of you are saying, well, why didn't you get your cell phone and call somebody? Well, my cell phone was way on the other side of my bed and I couldn't get over there. Okay, so that was out of the question. I could barely get where I was getting 2 feet to the toilet. Now I'm talking about going all the way across a king size bed. That wasn't going to happen. So the cell phone stayed over there. But I do have a house phone that was on a nightstand next to the bed that I slid down on. Didn't think about using that phone because I'm always using my cell phone. So I go all the way across. All I wanted to do was get off that floor. So I go across my hallway to go to my office area where there is a 1 piece of carpet laying over there so I can get off this cold floor. I didn't think about calling anybody. I just wanted to get off that cold floor. So I wiggle and wiggle and wiggle. Now you can imagine what a snail is like. That's what I was moving like, on my elbows, because I couldn't move my legs. So I'm just dragging and walking on my elbows like a soldier on the ground, crawling across the dirt with my elbows because I couldn't bend my knees. Okay, so I'm inching and inching and inching. Do you know it took me about 3 hours? 3 hours from my bedroom to get across the hall to that carpet. 3 hours. Because I was just inching and inching and inching. And then I got tired and I would go to sleep. Seemed like every hour I would go to sleep. I didn't cry. I didn't get upset. I just did what I had to do. I was going across the hall to the carpet, and I have a handheld phone set over there. I could use that phone. By then I had discovered, when I got over there finally, I looked back across my room. Well, since my Lord help us here. My handheld phone did not have a dial tone. So I made it all the way across there to get on that carpet and to make a phone call, 911. I get over there. First of all, I'm on the floor and the desk is about 3 feet, I guess, 3.5 feet, maybe 4 feet from the floor. I couldn't get up there to get the phone. Because if I could get on the desk to get the phone, then I should have been able to get back on my bed. But I couldn't get to the phone on the desk. So I'm throwing pillows I'm throwing covers, trying to knock it off the base so it could fall on the floor, on the carpet, so I could get to it. Well, I finally was able to do that. By now, it's about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon because I've been sleeping every couple of hours. So now we're Wednesday afternoon. Nobody called. Nobody came by. If the phone rang, I couldn't get to it anyway. So there I am, trying my best to make this phone call. So I go back to sleep. The Lord just kept touching my body as if he was saying, just rest, my child, just rest. I got you. And in my mind, I kept saying, Lord, I can't stay on this floor because I got some more work to do for you. I have some more work I need to be doing. I can't do it on this floor. Will you please help me to get up off this floor and get myself together? I kept on saying that the whole time. So when the phone I finally, like I said, there was no dial tone on that handheld phone. So I said, okay, now what? Then my mind goes back to the phone on the desk by my bed. Now I'm all the way across the hall now. It already took me several hours to get over there to the other phone. Now I got to work my way on my elbows back across the hall. Okay. Several hours went by. I finally got over there. In between time, I'm sleeping. When I get over there, looking underneath the bed, because I didn't know why, I didn't have a dial tone on that one either. No dial tone on none of the phones. So I'm like, well, why won't the phone? Why is no dial tone on this phone? I look under the bed. Somehow or another, it came out of the wall. Now, how in the world did the phone fall? How did the plug come out of the wall and it's under the bed? I didn't get under the bed. So how did the plug come out of the wall? I don't know, but it was out of the wall. I said, okay, how am I going to, the bed is too low for me. I'm too thick to get myself up under that bed to plug the phone up. So now, how am I going to get the plug back into the wall? So I kept going over there and going over there. Lord, how am I going to do this? So I ended up, by his grace and mercy, eventually, several hours going by. Now it's dark time. It's dark now, Wednesday night.
Have mercy.
It's dark. Okay. So I kept reaching and reaching and reaching because I see now, because my muscles and my body were deteriorating. That's why my left arm is feeling the way it's feeling, because I was forcing it under that bed with that cast iron railing that's holding up the bed, pushing and pushing and pushing with no muscles there. It's the one that didn't break my arm, but by the grace of God, I kept inching and inching and inching until I finally got my arm to the plug, and I was able to plug it up and plug the phone in the wall. As I did that, I got a dial tone. Now it's Thursday, because it took me that long to get over there. It's Thursday morning. I don't know what time it was because I kept going to sleep. Thursday morning is when I finally got my plug into that wall. Thursday morning. As I went through the process of plugging the phone in, my arm was beginning to do something. I don't know what was going on with this arm, but it wasn't normal. So I got the phone plugged in, and meanwhile, this is and I can say this on the air because we all have to go. Needless to say, I couldn't go to the bathroom this whole time. So you know what the bathroom was. It was the floor. Okay. I didn't have anything to drink, didn't have anything to eat because I couldn't get to anything
Mm.
this whole time. This was now Thursday from Tuesday. So I get the phone plugged up and I dial 911. This is 911. How can I help you? What's your emergency? Is this Miss Manning? I said, yes. Miss Manning, are you okay? No. Miss Manning, what's the problem? I said, I have fallen and I'm on the floor. I cannot get up. Miss Manning, how long you been on the floor? Since Tuesday. This is Thursday afternoon now. I said, I've been on the floor since Tuesday. You've been on the floor since Tuesday? Yes, ma'am. Well, we're going to get there as soon as possible. So how are you feeling? Is anything hurt? Anything broke? I said, I'm just cold. Been on this floor. Cold. We'll be there shortly. I'm here to tell you they came, and of course my house is secured. So I had locks and things, and just so happened by the grace of God that I had my house keys in my room on my dresser. I don't normally do that, but I was so plumb tuckered out on Tuesday, I kept the keys in my hand just to get to that bed and just laid stuff down. So anyway, I gave them the codes and all of that to get in, and uh, they came on in. So they needed to get out the front door because they needed to bring the stretcher in. It must have been about 4 or 5 first responders that came in. They came in through the garage, came on up through the kitchen. Miss Manning, we're here. Where are you? I said, I'm here in the back. Keep on coming to the end of the wall. Make a right. Okay, we're coming. So they came on in and they looked at me and they just, Miss Manning, we're here to help you. I look some kind of mess. And I'm talking a real mess. Poop, pee everywhere. Across the hall, in the other room, everywhere. All over me, in the bathroom, everywhere. Because 2.5 days. That's how I came up with this topic, folks. 2.5 days from Tuesday till Thursday afternoon. I was on the floor. I wasn't hurting. I was just cold. I didn't realize until they took me to the emergency room, and I don't want to go to that part yet. But as I was being cared for, the first thing they wanted to do, Miss Manning, we need to give you some water. Where is your water? So I told her where the water was. She came in the kitchen, got my water. I drank that up. That was some kind of good water. I'm here to tell you now, that was some mighty good water because I hadn't had any for 2.5 days. She said, well, you need some more water. Let me go get you some more water. I said, okay. She came in there, the big tumblers full. I drank both of them. I have come to realize that those 2.5 days after being in the hospital, which I'm going to get to that right now, going to the hospital, they had to get me off the floor, which they did. It was about four of them. And they brought me up to my feet. It was mighty good to stand. Oh, I said, oh Lord, thank you. I'm standing now. And then they said, well, how are we going to get you down the hallway to get you to the stretcher? It won't come back here to your room. I said, I can walk. No, ma'am. You cannot walk. See, in my mind, I just wanted to get off the floor. I was off the floor. In my mind, I'm good. Not so. That was not the case at all. I was not good. Miss Manning, you cannot walk down the hallway. I said, okay. So I said, well, I have a chair over there in my office area. Sit me in that chair and you can roll me down the hallway. So that's what they did. Now, mind you, it was already 3 or 4 of them standing there in the room to assist. I get down the hallway to the living room. It was about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 more guys standing in the living room, first responders. And I looked at those guys and I said, all of you all came for me? You came to help me? Yes, ma'am, we're here to help you. All of you came to help me? Yes, ma'am, we're here to help you. We're here. What do you need? What can we do? Now, mind you, for 2.5 days, I didn't have anybody. Nobody called, nobody knocked on the door, knocked on the windows, nothing. So, anyway, these 2 young fellows were standing there, could have been like in their 20s. So I looked at them and they looked at me and they turned their head because it was I'm thinking they must have looked like they saw a ghost. I must have been looking some kind of bad because they turned their head. I look at them, they turned their head. I said, you two must be in training. And they said, yes, ma'am. They couldn't have been no more than 20, 22, something like that. Yes, ma'am. They standing there with the blankets and the sheets folded up real nice, ready to unfold them and wrap me up. I said, well, that is just wonderful because I'm still not realizing how bad off I was. I didn't feel it. I'm just glad to be off the floor. So they got me on the stretcher, they wrapped me up. They had the door wide open, the front door wide open. I could see the sun was shining. It was some kind of good to see that sun shining because I hadn't seen in the daylight nothing for 2.5 days, day and night on the floor. So they got me on the stretcher. They rolled me on down the driveway. I get outside. My street was full of trucks on both sides and about 10 more guys standing outside. And I looked at them as they rolled me down my walkway. All of y'all came to get me. Wow. I mean, from zero, it had to be at least 10 of them. From zero help to all this help. But God, I can't give no credit to nobody else but God. When I saw that sunshine, that was a blessing. When they came through my house, that was a blessing. Somebody finally showed up. So anyway, as I go through all of that, they take me to the ambulance and do whatever they do with the wires and the tubes and whatever else, all that stuff they put on you, sitting in the driveway in the ambulance. Well, I'm only about 5 or 6 minutes from the hospital, so I got in there. They strapped me down, did what they did, and rolled on down the road. And I said, ma'am, did you lock my house? Did you make sure you closed the door, please? So she went back. And I said, when she came back, I said, everything good? She said, yes, ma'am. I said, okay. So I went on. Even if it wasn't good, it wasn't nothing I could do about it. So I said, okay. We went on to the hospital. We got to the hospital, and evidently they had already called ahead because I did not have to wait not 1 second. The next thing I know, I was out of the ambulance. They were rolling me through the hospital doors, right on straight to the room, wherever they was, to strip me, to get all this stuff off me. I came to the conclusion that I must have been looking pretty bad because I hadn't had any water. I didn't have any color to my skin. So they gave me some more water and cleaned me up real good. And I have to say to you all on the air, and I'm not holding back not one bit, this is real life here. When they cleaned me up, they had to cut my clothes off because they were in such bad shape. Miss Manning, we have to cut these off. We can't save your clothes. I said, I don't care. I don't care about those clothes. Just take them. Burn them up. whatever you do to dispose of them, that's fine. So as they began to clean me up, now I told you I have not been to the bathroom on the toilet like a normal person. So my butt was raw like a baby's butt. Okay. Because I hadn't been wiping, I hadn't done nothing. I couldn't get to nothing to clean myself up. So my butt was raw from front to back.
We can read between the lines.
I'm just giving it all the details.
I see.
And I didn't know that until they started to clean me up because I didn't feel any of that. As they were wiping, I'm ooh, ah, it was hurting. Well, Miss Manning, we gotta clean you up. I said, okay, well, don't wipe so hard. Anyway, so we got all that straightened out. They put whatever the cream or something, whatever they did to put on me to clear it up. Took about 3 or 4 days before it cleared up good. So we got through that part. They ran all the tests. Miss Manning, you either have the flu or you have COVID. I said, well, I already had COVID. So they ran some more tests and came back. You have the flu, Miss Manning. I said, what kind of flu is doing all of this? I thought flu was like a serious cold or something with the sniffles and blowing the nose and temperature and all that kind of stuff. I haven't had any of that. No throwing up, no nothing. I didn't do none of that. I was just weak. I just couldn't move I couldn't even lift my arm up. And I said, that's the flu? Yes, ma'am. This is the new string of flu that's going around, and you just happen to catch this particular type. Everybody gets it differently. I said, okay, I'm not upset. I mean, what can we do to fix this? What next? Well, we're going to have to keep you here for indefinite time right now because we don't know how we're going to what you are allergic to and all. We have to consider all of that before we can give you a time frame. But you will be staying. That's for sure. I said, okay. So they kept me, and come to find out, yep, I had the flu. And so I obviously was not the only one with the flu that was in there, in that hospital wing, that particular area. So after they cleaned me up, we were all, must have been about 5 of us, I think. I'm not sure. We all were in separate rooms. We had our own, what you call that ward where nobody else can come around. Isolation. We were all isolated. We have our own individual rooms. It wasn't no curtain between us. It was a real wall. We could not see each other. But guess what? We could hear one another because at that time, by then, I was beginning to cough really, really bad. Coughing and coughing and coughing. Didn't cough anything up, but I kept coughing. And nothing happened to me physically until after I got in that hospital. I wasn't coughing before I went in there. So anyway, they treated me for all of that. And then they must have moved me, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. Coach, you have a comment?
You say this was the flu. This was probably the most uh, dynamic, spiritual, and physical attack that one could ever experience. That this was coming for your life. And for those of us who haven't heard or spoke to anyone who have had such an experience where they were, uh, found in a home, and they usually, or in a lot of situations, people can't make it out. They may have other situations, other circumstances, but there's quite a few people who don't make it out of this situation, and we find them later. They have transitioned. And this testimony tonight is an actual experience of what happened during those dark days that Miss Nada spent terrified on the floor. So if you haven't spoken to anyone and known what this experience is like, I would advise you to contact her, or, take from this testimony of how things could change in an instant. And, there's a whole lot of teaching moments here, but to testify that she was literally saved, physically saved, and the way she describes her look at the first responders and the joy she had, that could have either been in heaven or that could have been here on earth. And we thank God for you that you are still with us going through an experience like that. And there definitely was angels. And now you were talking about how they're treating you and discovering the attack on your life. And I know you are a strong person, always moving around, in and out, working out at Planet Fitness. So you're not somebody that's bedridden or anything of that. And this thing just hit you within a matter of hours, and you had no idea why you didn't have any strength and why you were so weak. There had to be the mental torture as to what exactly happened. Were you're out playing basketball, or you out trying to do something you shouldn't have been doing? That would have given you some, okay, I hurt myself and this is why. But I cannot imagine what it feels like to be lost and telephone unplugged. That's amazingly creepy. Why your phone would be unplugged? It takes a lot to get a phone, a landline, out of the wall. Okay, but you clearly didn't expect none of this to happen, and I thank God for you. Um, and I'm sure that the audience, if they go back and listen to these details, some people have been close to experiencing what you have, and they haven't told anybody. I know I probably wouldn't tell anybody. I am a bit prideful, but I probably just wouldn't be saying, you know, in detail what happened, but I sure enough would have been afraid, uh, afraid, and you had the courage to come on and talk about it tonight. So now let's get back to your testimony. You're in the hospital, they're doing tests, um, and you just found out you had this strand of flu, and you were sharing with us your experience. Did you have to go through any rehab, or how did you, feel about your stay and what was ahead of you after this?
Okay. We will be going to a part two. I can see that now. Um, Once they finished doing the test on me and they told me that I had the flu, um, they said they were going to be moving me to another section of the hospital. And if I had to take somebody back over there now to all them rooms, I must have been in 4 different rooms. I would not be able to take you. I don't know where I was in there. I have no clue. All I know, it was in the hospital, and they moved me. Looked like they were moving me every couple of days or something. And but it was all good. Everything worked out with that. And as they continued to work with me with this cough, getting back to the separate rooms that we were in, we could hear each other coughing. And so I ended up asking one of the nurses in there, I said, is everybody over here? Because by then I knew I had the flu. They already told me. I said, do we all have the flu that's over here in this part of the hospital? Yes, ma'am. We all stayed in our room. I couldn't move no way. I don't know how the other ones, how their signs and things were. Um, but we had to keep our doors closed. The nurses come in there, they had to close the door behind them because they didn't want anything going through. So, okay, well, it was up to them to keep the doors closed. A couple of them would come in and forget. And I said, ma'am, would you please close the door? Oh, yes, ma'am. That's right. I forgot. I said, okay, no problem. By then, I was getting my color back because I had been drinking. I don't know what day this was that I'm in there now. I don't know day 3, day 4. I don't know. I couldn't keep track because again, we going back to getting the days and the nights mixed up. For real, I didn't know what was day and night in that hospital because we don't have no windows. So anyway, whatever day it was, my color was back. I was feeling more like myself, but I still could not move. Now I'm in the hospital now. I still could not move. They had to come and turn me. They had to come and help me get up to go to the toilet. I could tell when I had to go to the toilet. I did have feelings, but I couldn't move. So I would ring my bell and they would come in. They're very, very, I want to say this on the air for our hospital here. Very, very, very good hospital to be in. I have no complaints whatsoever. The personnel was great. They took care of me, and from what I could see, they took care of all of the other patients. We all had the flu. Very, very professional. So very attentive. Nobody was worrying anybody, ringing the bell every 5 minutes, come do this and come, none of that. We were all too busy coughing, probably. And so everybody wore a mask, of course. And as we proceeded on to whatever day it was, as they worked with me, I ended up, I was able to start feeding myself. I could lift my arm to put some applesauce and all of that in my mouth. I could do that gradually, nothing heavy. I mean, at that point, a cup was heavy. This thing right here, I could not lift it up. Okay. So as the days went by, I got better and better. And by the grace of God, I was able to eventually, after, I don't know, 8, 9 days went by. I don't know how many days it was. I did have a couple of visitors. They would come in and look after me. And by the grace of God, my heart was touched, and so was theirs, to come and see about Miss Nada. So I'm thankful and grateful for them for even caring enough and taking the time out of their schedule to come do that. Cards and flowers and what have you. So eventually I ended up going to rehab. And I think I have about 8 minutes left. Rehab came, I guess, I don't know, about 8 days after I was there in the hospital. I still could not move. So they had me in a wheelchair. They rolled me over to the rehab, inpatient rehab. And I said, okay, how long am I going to be over here? I said, well, I can tell you, I'm not going to be in here over a week. I said, it's time for me to go. Once I'll stay with you all for about 7 days. That's about it. Okay, Miss Manning, we're going to see how it goes. I said, okay. Because by then I was feeling better, obviously, because I'm telling them I'm coming out of here in 7 days. And so it just so happens that they worked with me. They put me in a wheelchair, and the first test they did was set me in a wheelchair for me to roll myself. That did not happen. I could not move them wheels in that chair for nothing. Nothing. I couldn't budge them. I didn't have any strength in my arms. And you know what? I said to myself then, and I said, I'm going to tell this everywhere I go. I have a new respect for first responders and a new respect for the handicapped. It takes some strength to learn how to roll them big wheels in that wheelchair. You hear me? And some people are in them wheelchairs the rest of their life. And I couldn't even do 1 second. And I said to the therapist, I said, ma'am, I can't move this chair. I didn't have any strength in my arms. And she said, okay. Okay. So she ended up pushing me to the different places where we did our little exercises. That to me made me see just how critical life can be at the blink of an eye. Because I could not move that wheelchair, And I would see these other guys coming, men and women coming that had been in there already. So they rolling right along in that wheelchair. But they also had other dysfunctions, like a leg missing or something, foot or arm, something, not the arm, but something wasn't right. And they would be in that chair for a while. And I would look at them and I would just cry because it could have been me. But by the grace of God, he was able to help me to get to the point where I did not have to stay in the chair. So they had me getting in and out of cars because, they're getting me ready for me to be on my own. I couldn't get in and out of the car. They keep a car in there for rehab purposes. I couldn't get in that car and couldn't get out of it
Well, what we want to
because
do is
I didn't have any muscle. Huh?
what I want to do is get you set up for the next show because we're about out of time. And we're, ladies and gentlemen, this powerful testimony of probably a near-death experience here.
We
So,
got 4 minutes.
well, not here at the radio station, you don't.
It says it right up there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I want to set you up for the next show. I
okay.
want you to get
Prayer
right in the middle of
time.
the juicy part, and then you got to stop talking.
Okay.
But we definitely want to talk about the things that have changed since then, how you got your house set up, and we want to have a long discussion about advice that you want to give to other seniors or people who might find themselves in a situation. We got to go back to the floor. We got to go back to that desert. We got to go back to that dark space that you was in, and people can learn how and listen at you in that experience and say, what if I get in that situation? How am I going to keep my mental, my spiritual, my faith intact? How am I going to get through that situation? 3 days. So all of
Two
a
and a half.
sudden, so we got to prepare people to be proactive against something like that, and to having people around to check on them every day, to call them every
You take
day.
you
All
taking my testimony.
we got to talk about. So what now?
You taking my testimony.
Well, I'm just saying that's what's setting up for the next show, of course. And we're gonna let you give your thoughts on how you came out of that. Right now, you're talking about the nurses, but I'm sure that people want to know how scary that was, and all through the night and the days, were you talking to the Lord? Were you
Hello, this is Akila speaking here from the
all right?
Awesome Radio
Well,
Network.
thank you,
We
ladies
are
and
your
gentlemen, for
vehicle
joining
to
us.
help
We'll be
drive the
right
gospel of
back
Jesus
next
throughout all the
Wednesday
world and
with
to
Let's Talk
every
Real Life
creature.
with Nate
If
Man.
God has placed radio ministry on your heart, we'd love to connect with you. Our number is 252-756-3137. That's 252-756.